Joffrey Baratheon, Vargo Hoat, Walder Frey, three of the most evil villains in A Song of Ice and Fire, powerful men responsible for butchering our favourite characters, or at least giving the order. In A Clash of Kings, Varys tells Tyrion a riddle. In a room sit three great men, a king, a priest, and a rich man with his gold. Between them stands a sellsword, a little man of common birth and no great mind. Each of the great ones bids him slay the other two. "Do it," says the king, "for I am your lawful ruler." "Do it," says the priest, "for I command you in the names of the gods." "Do it," says the rich man, "and all this gold shall be yours. So tell me, who lives and who dies?" A Song of Ice and Fire tends to focus on the great men, the kings, the priests, the rich men, shouting orders, pulling strings, jangling coins. The point of the riddle is that power resides where men believe it resides. We pay less attention to the so-called little men, as we tend to do in our real-world history. We know much and more about the great killers and why they do what they do. But what of the underlings who follow their orders? A mute headsman, a fat Dothraki sellsword, Walder Frey's 11th son. Who wielded the blades that broke our hearts? Who are the silent butchers of A Song of Ice and Fire? This is Fantasy Haven, your home for all things fantasy. Like and subscribe for more animated lore, and let me know in the comments who you think is more responsible, the men who gave the orders or the men who followed them. Let us begin with the Silent Sentinel. If I were to ask you who kills Ned Stark, you would probably answer Joffrey. You might also blame Littlefinger for betraying him, or Cersei for creating the conditions of his execution. But it was the royal justice who swung the blade. Sir Ilyn belongs to House Payne, Westerland vassals sworn to Casterly Rock. During the reign of the Mad King, he served as captain of the Red Cloak Guard for Lord Tywin Lannister. Tywin was famously tenacious and active as a hand, leading to jokes and rumours about the king's comparative incompetence. Sir Ilyn Payne made one such remark, claiming that Tywin, and not Aerys, truly ruled the Seven Kingdoms. He was overheard, and word of his treacherous tongue soon reached Aerys himself. The Mad King spared the knight's life, but tore out that tongue with hot pincers. In the aftermath of his triumphant rebellion, King Robert Baratheon named Sir Ilyn as the King's Justice, compensation for the tongueless knight, and a generous birthday present for Lord Tywin. At the start of A Song of Ice and Fire, Sir Ilyn Payne is grim, mute, and terrifying. As the King's Justice, he serves as the royal headsman for the Iron Throne, executing any person sentenced to death by the King or his hand. He also manages the dungeons of the Red Keep, supervising the jailers and turnkeys. The royal justice arrives with members of King Robert's court near the Trident, invoking fear in Sansa Stark. He's later expected to kill her direwolf lady, but Ned Stark does the grim deed himself. When Sir Gregor Clegane and his men raid the Riverlands, Eddard Stark sends Lord Beric Dondarrion, instead of the Silent Headsman, to bring him to justice. After all, he suspects Tywin's involvement, and knows House Payne is sworn to Casterly Rock. Ned Stark professes his alleged treason at the Great Sept of Baelor, but instead of sending him to the Night's Watch, King Joffrey Baratheon demands his execution. It is Sir Ilyn Payne who draws Ned's Valyrian greatsword, Ice, and beheads him with it. When Stannis Baratheon attacks King's Landing during the Battle of the Blackwater, Cersei and the ladies of the Red Keep take shelter in the Queen's ballroom. Sir Ilyn stands guard on Cersei Lannister's orders, not to protect the women, but to mercy kill them if Stannis' forces break into the city. Sir Jaime Lannister later takes Sir Ilyn on his expedition to resolve the siege of Riverrun and pacify the chaotic Riverlands, for rather personal reasons. A man who cannot speak, read or write would make the perfect sparring partner for a one-handed knight with a big ego. Why a nobleman of a major house is illiterate, I don't know, but there you go. He spars with his edgy new greatsword gifted by Tywin himself. When they aren't training, Jaime admits his incestuous crimes to the Silent Knight, who can do naught but listen. Sir Ilyn is a grim man surrounded by death. Jaime believes he lives for nothing but killing. He does not display the arms of House Payne. It appears he has dedicated his life fully to being the royal justice. Is it pure hatred and bitterness that drives him, ever since the Mad King took his tongue? He who passes the sentence should swing the sword, unless you're in the south. Sir Ilyn does what he's told. Under Joffrey's orders, he beheads a Florent bastard who calls him an inbred abomination. Under Tywin's orders, he would have taken Tyrion Lannister's head. And under Jaime's command, he executes one of the Mountain's men for assaulting a maid at Harrenhal. Despite killing Ned Stark himself, we barely see him. Even in the show, he just vanishes. But Sir Ilyn still plays a role. The Stark girls witnessed him executing their father, and he continues to haunt them in different ways. Sansa has had numerous nightmares involving him, and he remains on Arya's kill list. The last we see of him, he's skulking in the Riverlands with Jaime's party. For now, his deadly services are but an order away. Which leads us onto the Corpulent Companion. So Jaime Lannister's still alive as a POV, but he's butchered in a storm of swords. Most would blame the grotesque Vargo Hoat for his mutilation. Or maybe Locke from the show. Shout out to Locke. During the War of the Five Kings, Lord Tywin Lannister hires the mercenary company, the Brave Companions, a diverse horde of flamboyant brutes, also known as the Bloody Mummers. Its leader Vargo Hoat covertly switches sides to Roose Bolton and House Stark, seizing Harrenhal from the Lannister garrison through trickery and deception. Vargo grows paranoid about his decision after Stannis' defeat at the Blackwater, believing that Roose himself might turn cloak and join the Lannisters. To spark tensions between Tywin and Roose, Vargo orders Jaime's sword hand to be cut off, but he does not do the deed himself. He leaves that to one of his underlings, a fat Dothraki named Zollo. Zollo does not hesitate. This Dothraki is a vile sellsword, one of the worst mummers according to Jaime. He wants to force himself onto Brienne of Tarth, and later watches on as she's thrown into the Harrenhal bear pit. He almost whips Jaime when he comes back to save her, but Vargo calls him off. When Robb Stark's cause dies with him, the Bloody Mummers flee Harrenhal and scatter across Westeros. Rorge and Biter head to the Salt Pans, Timian, Pig and Shagwell flee to Maidenpool, while faithful Urswick leads a band towards Old Town. The Mountain slays Hoat before the Lord Commander can get to him, but he knows the other Mummers are out there, including the savage who took his hand. Despite having such a monumental impact on Jaime's character, we know next to nothing about Zollo. He is a sadist, one of many in a roaming band of mutilators and murderers, who serve their own perverted pleasures as much as they do their leader. For now, he roams Westeros, exploiting the post-war chaos. Lastly, we have Cat's Killer. Were I to ask you who tragically murdered this important POV character, you might say Walder Frey, or Roose Bolton, or Tywin Lannister. How many readers even recognise the name Sir Raymond? Sir Raymond is a knight of House Frey, and the 11th son of Lord Walder by his 6th wife, the late Amorai Craighall. We don't know what he looks like, but the Craighalls are renowned for being big-boned. His brother Hostine is large and strong, while his brother Merritt is soft and fleshy. We do not meet him before the Red Wedding itself, where he's drinking with his siblings Lothar and Hostine. When Robb is murdered and the half-mad Catelyn kills Jingle Bell in retaliation, Sir Raymond cuts her throat, although we only find out during Merritt Frey's POV in the epilogue. Catelyn was supposed to be taken hostage, so why did Raymond take her life? He may have been full of bloodlust from the massacre, and craving revenge for the death of his half-nephew Jingle Bell. Or perhaps he took pity on the broken woman, putting her down as he would a rabid dog. It is strange that the man who killed such a major character is a random Frey, not mentioned before or since. It just so happens that his forename is one of George R.R. Martin's middle names, Raymond. The Red Wedding was a traumatic chapter for George to write, so much so that it became the very last thing he wrote for A Storm of Swords. He loves Cat so much that he couldn't even keep her dead. Sir Raymond Frey, the man who slays his beloved character, may be the self-insert nobody talks about. As far as we know, Sir Raymond was given no orders, but the nature of that wedding night, planned and orchestrated by others, all but granted him permission to commit such a heinous act, and he has seemingly faced no consequences. What fates await these men? Will Sansa finally face the man from her nightmares? Will Arya tick another name off her list? Or will another Stark lady take revenge? Sir Ilyn is not safe roaming the Riverlands while Lady Stoneheart and the Brotherhood hunt their prey. What of the Corpulent Companion? If he is in the Riverlands, will Jaime get to him? Or is he headed to Old Town to capitalise on the approaching chaos caused by Euron Greyjoy? What about Cat's Killer? Will Lady Stoneheart hang her murderer? Will Nymeria hunt him down, perhaps while Arya walks her, unknowingly avenging her mother? Or perhaps none of these men will be subject to revenge. Perhaps they'll just be forgotten, these minor characters who butchered 3 of our favourite POVs. We celebrate Joffrey and Vargo's deaths, and pray for Warders, but care not for those merely following orders. For they are little men, in the shadows of the Great Ones. To learn more about the Red Wedding, check out my animated video, and let me know in the comments who you think the real POV Slayers are.